This is part 5 of section 6.1. We are going to solve this system using Gauss-Jordan elimination. Our first step is to write our augmented matrix. We have a missing variable up here, which means we need to be careful about that. So I have a 1, and then this is a 2, and this is a 1. And then my y values are a 1, -1, 2. My z values, right here I don't have 1, but you can't leave a spot empty in a matrix, so you're going to put a 0 there. And then 1 and 1, and you start off with a fraction. Fractions are going to happen. This is why I strongly suggest that you know how to use the fractions on your calculator. Okay, so Gauss-Jordan elimination. Here we go. Our first step is to get a 1 in this top position, and we already have that. Our next step is to get zeros here and here. So first off, I'm going to try to get a 0 here. Remember, anytime you're getting zeros, you're using rule 3. And rule 3 means you need a tool row. Again, I have 1s here and here. But you always want to use the one that you've already checked or verified or created. So I'm going to use this as my tool row. What do I need to multiply this one by to get rid of this? A -2. So if I do -2 times my tool row, which is row 1, I'm going to add to that row 2, and I'm going to write that where row 2 is. Okay, my row 1 is not going to change, so I'm going to go ahead and recopy that. Okay, and -2 times row 1 would be -2, -2, 0, -2. So this is -2 plus 2 plus -2, which is 0. -1 minus 2 is -3. 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 minus 2 is -1. Okay. Now we said for our second step, we can get rid of that. And again, we're going to use the same tool row. This is the row I created the 1n's in that column, so this is the row I'm going to use. So all I need to do is to multiply by a -1. So this would be -1 times row 1 plus row 3, and I'm going to write that where row 3 is. -1 times row 1 would be -1, -1, 0, -1. Okay? So -1 plus 1 is 0. 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 plus 0 is 1. And then 8/3 minus 1 is going to be 5/3. Okay, so we have all of these correct. The next thing we're supposed to get, our step 4, is to get a 1 here in the middle. Now there's one row operation that we have not used in any of the examples yet, and we can use it here pretty easily. We want to get a 1 right here and keep zeros here and here. Well, if I switch these two rows, I'm going to have that, right? I'll have a 1 in this position, I'll have my zeros here. So I'm just going to switch row 2 with row 3, and that's going to give me a 1, right in this position. Okay. 1, 1, 0, 1, then 0, 1, 1, 5/3, and then 0, -3, 1, -1. I have seen so many careless mistakes on this kind of step, so just be careful with it. Okay, I'm going to recopy it over here. Okay, so what's next? I have done 4 steps. My next thing is I need a 0 here. So I need to change this -3 into a 0. And that means I need to look for my tool row. I have ones here and here, but this is the one I've created or verified. So this is my tool row. Okay. What do I need to multiply this 1 by to get rid of a -3? A +3. So I'm going to do 3 times row 2 plus row 3, and I'm going to write that where in the row 3 position. Okay. Row equivalent 2. We aren't changing rows 1 and 2, so I'm going to recopy those. Okay. Now 3 times row 2 gives me 0, 3, 3, 5. Okay. So now let's add these. 0 plus 0 is 0. -3 plus 3 is 0. 1 plus 3 is 4. -1 plus 5 is 4. Okay, we're getting there. So we've done all these. Our next step is step 6 is to get a 1 in this position. So I'm going to get a 1 right here. And remember that we get 1s by multiplying by the reciprocal. The reciprocal of 4 is 1/4. So 1/4 times row 3, and I'm going to write that where row 3 is. Rows 1 and 2 are not changing. And I have multiplying through here by 1/4, I have 0, 0, 1, and 1. If you were just asked to do Gaussian elimination, you'd be done with the matrix part now. You would rewrite your system. You know what your z value is. You'd back substitute to find x and y. Okay? We're using Gauss-Jordan. So this would be end of Gauss. Okay. For Gauss-Jordan, we need to keep going. Our next steps, 7 and 8, would be to get zeros here and here. Now, luckily, one of these is already done, so we're not going to have to do that one, okay? Okay, that's where we are right now. Our next step is to change this 1 into a 0. That means we need a tool row. Where in this column have we created a 1? Right here. This is my tool row. What do I need to multiply it by to get rid of a 1? A -1. So I'm going to do -1 times row 3 plus row 2, and I'm going to write my answer in row 2. Okay. Now row 3 is the only one we're absolutely not worried about because it's already exactly what we need, so I'm going to recopy it. All right. -1 times row 3 is going to be 0, 0, -1, -1. Now add this to row 2. 0 plus 0 is 0. 1 plus 0 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. And 5/3 minus 1 is 2/3. Okay. Now our next step should be to create a 0 right here. But that's already done for us, so we don't need to do that. We just need to recopy that line. Okay, now a recopy. We are almost done. We just have one more step. Okay, so we have everything we need except the top center. Okay, and we need a 0 in that position, which means we need to find our tool row, which is always the 1 in that column that we have checked or created, so it's row 2. I should multiply this by -1 to make that go away, so I do negative row 2 plus, or -1 row 2 plus row 1, and I'm going to rewrite row 1 with this. -1 times row 2 0, -1, 0, -2/3. Now let's add this to row 1. 1 plus 0 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. 1 minus 2/3 is going to be 1/3. And then the others are just copied because they were already precisely what we needed. Okay, now we have our answer. Our answer is 1/3, 2/3, 1. With practice, these things get very, very fast. You are doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. It's a bit like learning how to type. Once you've got it down, you're going to fly, okay? And we are practicing with smaller matrices so that if you go on, you will be able to handle the larger ones.